Halloumi is a traditional cheese that was, at first, produced in Cyprus and represents the major agricultural product of the island nowadays. It is currently exported throughout the world, with the United Kingdom being the largest importer of the product. Halloumi is a semi-hard or hard cheese, depending on if the cheese is fresh or mature, and in its traditional recipe it is produced using goat or sheep's milk, or a mixture of the two types. However, the high demand for halloumi cheese and the short availability of sheep's milk favored the use of cow milk in industrially processed halloumi. The type of milk and the processing parameters used in the production affect the cheese's final quality and features such as color and flavor. Milking can be performed manually or mechanically. It is usually carried out twice a day. According to current food regulation, the milk has to be cooled at a temperature lower than 9 degrees Celsius, unless it is directly, within 2 hours of milking, used for cheese making. Goats produce a slightly higher quantity of milk compared to that of sheep, but sheep's milk is richer in fats and total solid content than goat milk. In the production of halloumi, it has been observed how the use of different types of milk mixtures affect the cheese yield because of the different composition in terms of protein and fat. Quality evaluation of the milk is usually carried out in the quality control laboratory or outsourced to an external provider when not present. Milk parameters analyzed are related to quality and safety of the product. The feeding of dairy animals is fundamental for the quality of milk and, in turn, of the cheese produced. Low-quality feed can cause the production of tainted milk. Other factors which could affect the milk composition is the stage of lactation of the animal. Being a traditional product, the cheese-making process of the halloumi cheese varies among the different regions of the island. The milk used in the cheese-making process can be subject to pasteurization at a temperature of around 72 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds or 63 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. At the beginning, the milk is warmed up to 32 to 34 degrees Celsius, and non-animal commercial rennet is added to the milk in order to trigger the cheese-making process. For the production of halloumi cheese, no starter cultures are used. As milk coagulation occurs, the curd will start to form, and the producer will, then, proceed to cut the curd into small cubes of around 1 centimeter. Curd particles are manually collected and then transferred into molds. In this step, the draining of the curd and release of the whey is promoted by letting the force of gravity do the work, with no external pressure applied. Molds can be stacked on top of each other to facilitate the release of the whey. In industrial processing, mechanical pressure is applied in order to shorten the step. However, depending on the different types of milk used, the pressure required may change. The texture of the product will significantly change in this step of the production as it becomes firmer. Cheese curd is manually turned over in the mold in order to obtain a product with a homogeneous texture. Afterwards, molds are arranged on a metal support or rings and prepared to be cooked. cooking of the curd is a fundamental step in the production of the halloumi cheese. The cooking of the cheese curd is carried out in a deproteinized whey obtained from the production of anari cheese. Temperature of the whey is set to 90 degrees Celsius, and the cooking of the product lasts for about 30 minutes in order to reach the temperature of 80 to 85 degrees Celsius in the core of the product. The cheese, after the cooking process, will obtain a characteristic elastic texture. Cheese is removed from the molds and let to cool down for a few minutes on the cheese bench. Salt and mint are added, and the cheese is then folded in a half-moon shape prior to being transferred in a cold room for a further cooling step. Cheese will undergo a salting phase overnight in the whey brine and will be vacuum packed the day after. The fresh cheese is kept under refrigeration until it is sold. Otherwise, it can be kept in whey brine for at least 40 days in order to obtain a matured product. Anari cheese is obtained from the whey of the halloumi production. After halloumi cheese curd is removed from the whey, it is heated up to 90 degrees Celsius, inducing protein denaturation, and is collected along with the fat that will emerge on the surface. Afterwards, the deproteinized whey left will be used as a medium for the cooking step of the halloumi cheese. Anari represents a valuable byproduct of the halloumi cheese production, and it can be consumed fresh, salted, or left to dry.